Alright guys, so in this video I just kind of want to go over some things that I noticed from the playtest this past Thursday and this past weekend, and just kind of give you my thoughts on it and things I'd like to see and some questions that I have. The first thing I wanted to call out is the new long range scanner. So the arc that pops up when there's no resources in your area but guides you in the direction of where you can find them is awesome. I think that it might be a little bit too generous in that if the resource is on the other side of the planet, it'll still guide you over to where you can find that resource. So maybe some sort of limit in how far the long range scanner actually is effective would be a good addition, but it's definitely a great addition to the game. I did notice one problem with it is that if someone happened to put resources into their house, so like they used the depositor and put them in their house, or they dropped a house over the top of the resources to a point where you can't get to them, the long range scanner will still guide you to their house. So that might be something they want to look at, is not having the scanner guide you to resources you can't get because they're actually located in a homestead. So next, let's talk about some of the changes to crafting. So now PQRV stats affecting items, and items having different characteristics that you can modify depending on the PQRV stats is really great. Definitely having tools and items, weapons customization, starting to see that come together is really cool. The next change I wanted to talk about was the tools and how some of the tools were split up into multiple tools. I personally really like that. I didn't like tabbing between tool modes, so probably the biggest change was to the terraformer. Now it's been split into 3 different tools. You have the terraformer, the depositor, and the chronophaser, and you just equip them instead of having to tab between them. I really like the change to that. This is definitely making me think about the SWG skill trees, and I can see here where you'll have maybe like a terraformer profession, and then you'll have different trees or branches. Like you'll have a branch for the terraformer, the chronophaser, and a branch for the depositor, maybe something like that. The new resource selection is great. You no longer have to do the E and the Q to toggle between which resource you're trying to scan or look for. You just equip the tool you want and you hit tab, and it brings you the nice little selection screen. You select the resource that you want. That's really great. The only thing I would suggest is that you should be able to tab to open the screen and then tab to close it as well. The name for the patch, the Twilight update, was in reference to how dark night scenes were. I think this was a good change to make the night scenes more of a base level with the lighting, so it works for everybody is probably a good thing. Of course, you can always change monitor levels or monitor settings to get what you need, but trying to get it to a base level where it's more of a good entry point for everybody, especially new players coming to the game, is a good thing. They did do a lot of other things with this patch, a lot of other small updates and bug fixes. They had a lot of tutorials and text that would pop up when you equip tools, but I feel like they were a little intrusive, and honestly, no one's gonna read them anyways. So I feel like just the help screens would have been good, because no one's gonna read those tutorials. Now, some of the things I noticed that I'd really like to see change from this weekend, starting with tools, the batteries get wrecked for tools now. They get drained really fast. So I definitely like to see some balancing and tuning there, but they've already mentioned that on Discord, so hopefully we'll see some improvements there. With the batteries getting drained so fast, it's definitely worth it to just equip 2 versions of a tool, like equip 2 terraformers and then just toggle between them. I don't know if that's going to stay in the game or not, but then at the same time, those also make battery recharges, the consumables, kind of irrelevant, because you use one terraformer, when its battery is drained, you switch to the other, and by the time that battery is drained, the other one's good to go again, which kind of makes the consumable battery recharges kind of pointless. Now, you could argue that you don't want to have 2 terraformers using 2 tool spots because you only get 4. But if you're only going out to mine in a particular gaming session, then it really doesn't matter. So that might be something for them to look at. The depositor is cool. I like the way that the depositor is its own tool. However, a shortcoming there is with resource stats mattering. Now, all your stats for a particular resource, say iron, if you have different versions of iron, you want to be able to select which one you deposit. Right now, it just shows you the stack of iron, and you don't get to choose which version of iron you want to deposit. Another thing that would be nice to have is if it would show the stats for items that you have equipped. So items or tools or weapons that you have equipped, it'd be nice if you could just hover the mouse over them and see the stats over them. Another thing would be nice is if you didn't have to equip another tool to a tool spot in order to unequip something. You want to just be able to unequip something without having to scroll through an item that you can switch to. One thing that I'm really bummed about is the ice meteors no longer deposit ice. They were saying that the water spreading was having a negative effect on gameplay. I don't know. I think they need to find a solution there, because having the ice meteors fall and deposit ice and then melt to water on the planets was really cool. So that was a cool way for water to be added to the planets. So I hope they come up with a solution there to keep that in the game instead of just removing it. Something that's been in the game for a while that hopefully they fix soon is you can't hotkey food or consumables without first consuming one. You have to bring up the radio menu, select one, and then use it in order to hotkey it. So hopefully they can fix that soon. Probably the biggest issue that people were noticing over this weekend was performance in general. Some of the heavier areas with buildings like Akala and space, especially space, where Gunk has their massive starship, which is really cool, but it's causing lag issues when people load into the TPL starbase and walk outside. They actually had to rotate the starbase to avoid people from lagging when they walked outside where the cruiser was. So hopefully they can work on those performance issues before 24/7 starts. There were a lot of other small bugs, but that's to be expected, in a pre-alpha. Hooby actually created a good list. I saw most of the things that he mentioned in there, so I'll put a link down in the description below if you want to see the list that he composited. Some of the ones that I noticed real quick, the worst one was definitely character corruption. I was out doing some terraforming and my character got nuked by a creature while he was terraforming and ended up in a weird state where he was stuck in the ground. He looked alive to me, but then I would get system messages when I tried to do something saying he was dead. So I can't remember if I just did /stuck or just did a relog, but either way, when I came back, I was stuck in the planet spaceport, and I was totally stuck. I couldn't interact with anything. I couldn't move. I had no UI. I just couldn't do anything. So that character was pretty much done for the rest of the playtest. So hopefully they definitely fix that part of it before more people start coming to the game. Some of the tools had bugs as well. Most notable was, for me at least, was the chrono phaser. I think there might have been issues with some of the other tools like the harvester, but I don't care about the plant tools. I want the chrono phaser. I want to go out and burn stuff, let's be honest. So not having the chrono phaser work, hopefully they fix that pretty soon. Now just some final thoughts that me and Glitch came up over the past couple days. One is, will this game scale appropriately? Right now, terraforming and mining for resources feels really good. The pace at which you kind of dig into the world feels really good. Even if we're talking about like this represents kind of a late game mastery with consumables and high-end gear equipped, that's fine. I mean, progression is fine. But what's going to happen when we have 50 people all terraforming the same planet? Even if they make the planets bigger, I just feel like the planets are still gonna get just terraformed really, really fast. So I don't know. I guess that's something we'll have to see as the playtests get longer and larger and more people come to the game. But something to think about is you don't really want to, I don't feel like you want to slow the terraforming process down, because the rate, digging into the world feels really good, and going any slower at an in-game level, I think that would feel really slow. The other thing I personally feel like we're definitely still missing points of interest and kind of, developer placed content and objectives. Places where you can have objectives to earn rewards or badges or crafting materials. To give you some examples from SWG, things I'm thinking about are like Yavin, getting materials for wrist armor, or the Warren, one of the first POIs that were in that game. So things you can do, places you can go to earn badges, rewards, even decorations, things like that. So I think right now the game shows kind of what the underlying systems are going to be able to do on the player side, but having things like that where you can kind of show people kind of things you can also have for them to do as far as earning rewards for things and badges and resource materials would definitely be something you're gonna probably want to be able to show to players coming to the game for a broader audience kind of thing as well. So those are my initial thoughts. Let me know what you guys think about all this and things that you noticed in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and let me know what kind of other videos you would like to see. I'll see you next time.